Maryland's own Cam Whitmore officially a Washington Wizard.
The Houston Rockets have parted ways with the 20th pick from the 2023 NBA draft, Cam Whitmore.
We don't know how good a player he is until he gets that playing time. That was not going to happen with the Rockets, who added depth.
The Washington Wizards just pulled off an absolute heist that has flown completely under the radar. In a quiet off-season move, the Wizards managed to acquire a young Cam Whitmore who is oozing with potential for a measly 2 second-round picks. It's not often that type of package will net you a recent first-round talent. Yet, Houston decided that Cam's time with them is up. But why? And why is this such a big deal? Well, Whitmore isn't your typical throwaway type of player. He's a young star in the making. Something obviously happened between himself and Houston for them to let him go, and Washington managed to snag him for pennies on the dollar. From one side of it, Cam Whitmore's NBA resume so far might not be that crazy, but it hasn't exactly been easy going for him. Whitmore has played limited minutes on a stacked Rockets roster, averaging about 17 minutes across 98 games in his first 2 seasons. The Rockets are a deep team with playoff aspirations, finishing as the 2 seed in a ridiculously oversaturated West. I guess the Rockets did what they could for Cam, who, when he did get opportunities, was extremely efficient, averaging over 10 points on about 45% shooting. But the situation in Houston has only gotten worse for Whitmore, especially after this offseason. After the Rockets acquired superstar Kevin Durant, and with other forwards like Jabari Smith Jr., Amen Thompson and Dorian Finney-Smith in the mix, Whitmore's path to playing time was looking pretty tough. If he couldn't crack it last season, his chances to crack it with KD looked even worse. Despite the limited role, Whitmore flashed major upside whenever he did get extended run. We got a tantalizing glimpse of his capabilities late last season. In an April game against the Lakers, Houston rested their starters and Whitmore finally got to start and play starter minutes. And he hooped. He dropped a career-high 34 points, shooting a blistering 13 for 19 from the field. He was looking like a long-lost Splash Bro too, drilling 7 of 12 three-pointers in that game, while also chipping in 8 rebounds. It was an eye-opening performance that screamed, "This kid can ball if you let him." Nights like that proved that the only thing holding Whitmore back in Houston was circumstance. The Rockets knew he had talent, but they just didn't have the luxury of nurturing it. Many forget that Whitmore was one of the most exciting prospects in the 2023 NBA draft. Coming out of Villanova, Cam Whitmore was widely projected to be a top 10 pick, maybe even top 5. He was a powerhouse wing and the kind of prospect that teams fight over. But in a massive slide, Whitmore fell all the way to number 20, where the Rockets happily scooped him up. Why? Well, there were rumors of inconsistent pre-draft workouts and concerns about a medical issue. Whatever red flag sent Cam Whitmore tumbling down draft boards from high lottery to 20, maybe they should have been beige flags, one writer wrote. In other words, nothing in Whitmore's actual play suggested that he wasn't elite talent, and he backed it up straight away, dominating the 2023 Vegas Summer League. So much so that he was awarded the Summer League MVP, making Whitmore the first Rockets player ever to win it. It was a loud statement for the 19-year-old at the time that Houston had essentially locked into a lottery-level prospect at number 20. Little did anyone know that less than 2 years later, he'd be changing teams. This is where the Washington Wizards enter the chat. The Wizards have been, to put it kindly, stuck in terribleness for years. Never quite bad enough to get the number 1 pick, but never quite good enough to be a playoff team. That all started to change in 2023 when the franchise brought in new management to overhaul the team. Michael Winger was hired from the Clippers in as the new president of basketball operations, and with him came a mandate for a full rebuild. He and GM Will Dawkins weren't interested in band-aid fixes or chasing the 8th seed. They set out to blow it up and build from scratch. They traded away franchise cornerstone Bradley Beal, a move unthinkable in years previous, and got back a lot of draft capital and flexibility. They moved other veterans as well, and even fan favorite Denny Avdia as part of this down-to-the-studs rebuild. The Wizards finally committed to bottoming out and accumulating young assets, a strategy that many around the league applauded. In fact, in an NBA front office survey, rival executives actually gave Winger and his team votes as one of the top up-and-coming front offices, recognizing that the Wizards' plan, painful as it might be in the short term, was the right way to build a better future. The Wizards went 3-19 to start the 24-25 season, an abysmal start. But for once, fans could actually see the vision. Under this new leadership, the Wizards have been quietly gathering a core of promising young players. In the 2023 draft, they snagged French wing Bilal Coulibaly in the lottery, betting on his raw talent. In 2024, their dreadful season paid off with the number 2 overall pick, which they used on Alex Sarr. Now they've gotten rid of their main shot chuckers in Kuzma and Poole, acquiring picks and veterans in return who can guide these young talents through an oversaturated league. So when the opportunity arose this summer to grab Cam Whitmore for a pack of gum, the Wizards front office pounced. The buzz around DC is that the team is finally building something intriguing. It's hard for fans not to get excited about that. Does that mean DC is the ideal place for Cam to kickstart his career though? Yes. The Wizards need a player like him and can offer what Houston couldn't: playing time and a green light. Washington is a rebuilding team, which means they're laser focused on developing young players and letting them learn from their mistakes. Unlike the contender level Rockets who had no minutes to spare, the Wizards can afford to put Whitmore on the court for 25 to 30 minutes a night and let him spread his wings. Reports say Houston's own front office recognized this. They specifically sought to trade Whitmore to a team that would give him a chance to thrive. He'll likely slot right into their forward rotation and could even compete for a starting job before long. The 6'7" Whitmore is seen as a piece who can replace some of that lost scoring punch on the wing. Another factor working in Whitmore's favor is the Wizards' investment in his development. Washington's front office clearly values him. They targeted him and stole him away while 28 other teams apparently snoozed. You can bet they're going to prioritize turning him into a centerpiece. And let's not overlook the homecoming angle. Whitmore is actually a Maryland native, returning to the DMV area where he grew up. There's something poetic about him potentially blossoming as a star in front of his hometown crowd. That motivation, plus the expanded role, could ignite Whitmore's game to a whole new level. With his physical tools and scoring instincts, his ceiling could be an all-star caliber forward down the line if everything breaks right. Washington will happily give him the keys to see just how far he can drive. Given all this upside, it begs the question, what was Houston thinking? The deal certainly puzzled a lot of people. Houston is a team with win-now ambitions after a busy 25 offseason, and Whitmore had become a victim of timing and numbers. First, the Rockets swung a blockbuster trade for Kevin Durant, signaling that their rebuild has come to an end. It is time to compete for championships. In that context, developing a 20-year-old project like Whitmore became less of a priority, especially when his position was overloaded with experienced talent. By trading Whitmore, the Rockets actually solved a couple of their roster problems. They freed up the logjam at forward and opted to move him rather than keep him buried. There were also financial considerations. With Durant's massive contract on the books and other moves happening, the Rockets were flirting with the dreaded luxury tax and the new CBA's salary cap apron. Trading Whitmore's rookie deal gave Houston enough flexibility to finalize all their offseason additions without cap complications. And while 2 second-round picks is a light return for a recent first-rounder, Houston actually welcomed getting those picks. Why? Well, because in that Durant trade, Houston had given up a boatload of second-rounders, 5 of them, to Phoenix. So reclaiming a couple of second-round selections by flipping Whitmore would help replenish their draft stash, even a tiny bit. From the Rockets' perspective, Whitmore was a redundant piece whose greatest value might have been as a trade chip to recoup some assets. Finally, and to their credit, the Rockets didn't just dump Whitmore in the most convenient deal. They actually worked with his agent to find a destination that would benefit the player. According to ESPN, Houston had multiple offers for Whitmore, but specifically chose the Wizards' offer in part because it put Whitmore in a position to succeed. In other words, the Rockets knew Whitmore could flourish if given the chance. They just weren't prepared to give him that chance, so they sent him somewhere that would. It's interesting to see how this move has been talked about so little. A lot less coverage compared to other deals that have gone down so far. Cam Whitmore is by no means a household name, but the Wizards paid far less than market price for him, and you can bet there were a lot of teams quietly upset who had better offers on the table.